Well, hello and welcome to the fantastic city of Las Vegas in Nevada, USA for the 361 World Men's Curling Championship 2018. The Grand Canyon and the Mojave Desert just a stone's throw away. Normally most of the fun and action will take place on the famous strip, but a couple of blocks away we will find the Orleans Arena, our home to the best curlers in the world. Taking us in to this fantastic venue for this morning draw. In session 15 is Sweden playing China. A must win for China to keep their playoff hopes alive, as Sweden will be really looking to snag one of the top two spots. Here you see the famous Swedish foursome making their way in. Team China as well being introduced for the fans. Has all the makings of a good game this morning, but China really needs to put out their best as they're facing one of the world's best curling teams over the last few years. And here's the lineup for Team Sweden. Kristoffer Sundgren at lead. Throwing the second stones is Rasmus Verano. At third and vice skip for Sweden, we find Oskar Eriksson. And Sweden is skipped by Niklas Edin. For China at lead, we have Xia Derde. At second, Xu Tao. At third is So Cha. And China is skipped by So Dujia. We'll have a look at the standings. You can see Canada and Scotland with Sweden on top at 7 wins, 1 loss, all fighting for the top 2, which will give you a direct bye to the semi-finals. But the next 4 spots will also give you a place in the quarterfinals. So you can see China with their 3 wins, 5 losses really needs to start winning some games. Maybe the rest of them. So starting with Sweden, it's a tall task, but there's still a chance for them. As we see the other games this morning in the Orleans Arena, it's a big one as Norway take on Scotland. Our main focus will be Sweden, China, but also Netherlands will take on Switzerland, and Italy plays Korea. So we'll make sure to bring you some updates on the games elsewhere. As you can see, the team just getting ready. They've had their pre-game practice and just taking the time to introduce ourselves. My name is Sander Ulvåg. I'm joined by Scottish curling expert Kenny Edwards. Good morning.
Good morning, Sander. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fantastic game. Sweden really beginning to gather momentum, building on what is already strong performance this week. I feel they will be very aggressive in this game. China like a lot of stones in play, so expect to see some exciting big shots, run backs, doubles early on in this game.
Well, China is currently on a 4-loss streak. Had a pretty good start with 3 wins and 1 loss after the first 4 games, but in a bit of a slump right now, hoping to ping right back with a huge win over Sweden. Could be an upset on the cards. So, as mentioned, they've had their pre-game practice, but now just a few practice slides as the music and crowd will settle down for the first throw. Sweden plays the red stones. China will throw the yellow. Sweden outdrawing China in the draw shot challenge. They will have the hammer, so it is Team China to start. Lead Xia Derde, 23 years old, curled 9 years, will throw the first stone of this game, Sweden-China, in the morning draw. They are bringing this into the rings.
Yeah, it's what you see most teams do with the first rock of the game. trying to get that one top of the forefoot, but that opens the door because it's not really any hassle to, or any problem to Nicholas Edin, so he's going to throw the corner guard.
And it is Kristoffer Sundgren to throw that corner guard. Might have seen Sweden throw that anyway, but especially where that shot stone for China ends up, it's just under 12 foot. No real danger for Sweden where it sits. Not good enough for China to guard, but they could still throw a center guard if they wanted to. Try and keep the play along the center line. But indeed, they will just come around. Bring the play into the house.
Jag tycker det är skönt utan jag tycker det känns fel. 4-5. Ja. 下了 OK 6区啊。3下线。5 3下线。5
Well, just cover that Yellowstone top of the 12 foot. That's no real danger for Nicholas Edin, so a chance to get around that corner guard he flung with his first.
Känns rätt bra. Topp 8. Bara T-line är viktigt. T-line är viktigt. Hänger lite. Gärna curla. Ja, det ska T-line. Vi kan runda nästa.
Sweden just ignoring everything here, coming straight around the corner guard.
Ja, gå lite där. Perfekt. Snyggt.
Especially knowing they can get shot stone. Why not just come around the guard, use it early? Quite many times we see a team throw that corner guard, not really getting to use it. So second player for China, Hu Zhangtao. He's going to follow this stone. Urging this to settle down, but it will just bounce off. So it's partially buried. That redstone was indeed over buried.
Jag tror jag gillar den ändå. Vi kommer slå den någon gång, men det känns som att bygga här först.
Here Edin telling his team, don't mind the hit roll off the yellow here. Roll behind the corner. Saying, well, we'll deal with those center line stones eventually, but quite feel like building something on the wing first. Just load up that wing with a few reds. Here's Rasmus Verano, the newest acquisition to the Swedish lineup. We've seen Edin skip a few different teams over the years, but old second, Christian Lindström, with an injury, had to step out of the team. Rasmus was brought in. As we take a look at the rules of play, 6 ends minimum, although the game is scheduled for 10, and we're certainly hoping for 10 ends of curling fun. 38 minutes of thinking time is awarded to teams, and 1 60-second timeout as well. Time management a part of the game as well, Kenny, but usually not a huge problem.
No, it's not a huge problem, but like I said at the start of the show, both these teams like stones in play and do take a little bit of time about discussing the possibilities. So it can become a factor later in the game. I have seen teams down to 5-10 seconds to go. But as long as you've released that stone or beginning to deliver that stone, when the time clock hits 0, you're okay.
That's when a little bit of the experience comes in too, not to be stressed by the fact that the clock's ticking away. China trying to follow those stones on the wing again, this time crashing on the guard. So they're wanting to come around the centers. Maybe hoping China will run them back and actually open things up for Sweden instead of doing it themselves. Adding some pressure on China early here.
Well, they are past. They're going deep. All China can do is probably just follow them. You see how tight this one gets to the guard. Finishing really hard. Stopped around there, it would have been perfect.
Our first look at third player for China, So Cha. He's coming up heavy here. Not finding draw weight, this Chinese team, yet. That is all the way through. Some big problems building up.
Even if that one had been top 8 foot, it would have been absolutely fine. Couldn't afford to be heavy and deep with that one, even if it froze the back red.
Yeah, certainly a few other spots that stone could have stopped. Doesn't help China at all. Still have those center guards though. That could potentially be run back. First stone for Oskar Eriksson. So even though you're sitting 3, you want to approach this very gingerly, not to leave your opponent an out. Just gets past the yellow to live 4, and actually takes that draw path away. Not where they wanted that one, but that's not a bad plan B. Certainly curl for a few years. Eriksson was, we haven't heard the nickname so much these days, but as a junior, he was always called the Professor. Had very good tactics as a young skip. Skipped Sweden to a silver medal at the age of 16 in Östersund, Sweden. Just lost out to Chris Pleiss, who's here as alternate for the US team. And that was the plan for China, just a nose hit, although So Cha was maybe hoping to get the double in the end there.
Yeah, Niklas Edin just wants to get something top of the 8 foot, but that yellow stone that's just short of the house is causing a bit of concern.
I like the call by China, just nosing there. It's a tough thing to be patient when your opponent's lying 4. But by doing that, certainly leaves himself a few options. You can see all the red stones are more or less in around the 12 foot. So China doesn't really need to come too close to that button to get shot stone eventually. We'll get the rock lock on Oskar. First end, we're looking at maybe 14, a tad less even. 13-9. Didn't want to come deep there, so actually left that to rub the front stone.
It does leave a chance to play the hit and roll. Even if they catch it thin, they could crash into the other reds out wide. So opened the door for China, that one, from Oskar Eriksson.
Not getting what he was wanting from his team so far in this first end, but so often as a skip, you're just having to bail your team out with a couple of good shots. Definitely needs the inside, and as you said, Kenny, can probably afford to catch it quite thin. He has a lot of room to roll to. Just doesn't want to sit on the nose. So Do Ja. Finished runner-up at the Pacific Asia Curling Championships, which was hosted in Erina in Australia in November. Will make the roll and is now buried behind 3 guards. Well, that's a good shot under pressure.
Yeah, it was a must-make shot for China. No really easy out for Niklas Edin with this now.
If you run something, there's a lot of catchers on the Reds. Not an easy shot called by Edin here. It's the double run. The longest guard onto that stone, top 12, to catch it very precisely. Thick half on that stone just rolled in. They're actually looking to go yellow onto the shot stone, try and run that through the hole of the red stones.
Yeah, but second prize would be just opening up the center.
Yeah, they were saying if they end up just catching the pocket of the 2 yellows top 12 and shuffle everything around, that's a good option for Niklas Edin, world champion, European champion, I mean, you name it. The only thing he hasn't become is Olympic champion, very close. Silver medal this year in Pyeongchang. And that is about as good as you can get. Great shot by Edin.
Well, leaves Sweden sitting 3, squeezed it over the top. Did catch that pocket you suggested, Sander. Great shot. Maybe not the way they called it, but they knew that was a possibility.
I think they'll take that one. And now all the pressure on So Do Ja. A miss here. He could give up 4. Drawing around his own yellow. Probably won't mind coming deep here, over buried almost down onto the back red. Knowing if you leave this in the button, Edin can always run your center guard down, pick it out. This is creeping closer to that guard. They are by. Needed to settle down though. Eriksson on the sweep, can drag it, and how far? Far enough. Sweden lie 3. And it's a draw for 4, incredibly, here in the first end. Well, he made a great shot on the first one, So Do Ja, but Edin followed. Could not make that draw.
Big opportunity for Edin to really put himself right out in front in this first end.
I just think he wanted that freeze on the back red all too much. Added a couple of extra feet. In the end, too much weight. Had to go a little bit on the sweep for line. It comes up deep. This is a pretty automatic shot for Niklas Edin. But it's a big sweep from the front end. Needing a piece of the 8-foot. Eriksson out to help, but in the end, they do get there. And it is 4 points for Sweden up on the board in the first end. How can China ever salvage this? We will see. 9 ends to go in this one here at the Orleans Arena.
会因为领先4分，他可能清完了可能会那个就是普兰 B 会给咱2分机会，咱这有2分机会抓，有2分机会就行。OK， 加油！他过不去，不他过不去。
Låt han båda ligga kvar så kan vi...
Alltså, jag menar inte offensivt.
Nej. Men en guard med 4-0 så är det ju ganska offensivt.
Well, there you have it. 4 points for Sweden in the first end in this morning draw. So if you felt like having a snooze coming in for this game in the second end, well, you've missed all the action in the first. Sweden playing a near perfect end. China didn't find draw weight, missed the freeze opportunities time and time again. And with Soto Jazz last attempt running through the 8-foot, just left an open draw for 4. How does it feel giving up 4 in the first end?
I wouldn't really know, Sander, because I don't think I've done it before. It's going to be a long way back, especially against a team like Nicholas Edin. You're going to be pretty dejected. But if they can just pick up their 2, force 1, score 2, they're only 1 behind then. But even scoring 2 against Nicholas Edin is going to be hard because Edin will look to run for home.
Han visste inte.
Sweden's only given up 2 points on 3 occasions so far in the World Championship. And they haven't given up more than a 2. So far, through, I believe, 38 ends without hammer, only given up a score of 2 or more 3 times. That's incredible, Kenny.
Yeah, that just shows that they are very difficult to beat and tactically aware and shooting very, very well.
I'll just jump over to Italy, Korea. 3 Italian stones in there, facing Kim Chang-min. Having to draw for 1, might have to even move the shot stone. Not sure if he can just straight draw there. So trying to get this to curl. Wiki Bok trying to help it, but just has a little too much weight. It's just going to slip off the red, and it's a steal of 1 for Italy. 1-0 after 1 end. Well, just picking up on what we said about Sweden, they have a force efficiency of 87%. It's unheard of. It means 87% of the time they force their opponent to just scoring a 1.
Yeah, quite phenomenal numbers.
course, blank's not taken into consideration in that, but 25 singles and 3 deuces, that's what they've given up. So when you look at their scoring, though, they do score quite a few deuces and quite a few 3s. As you see all the scores in the Orleans Arena, it's 1-0 for Norway, 1-0 for Switzerland over Netherlands, and 1-0 for Italy, as we just saw. Feels to me Sweden are quite happy to put stones in play with the hammer, but they're very cynical without the hammer.
Yeah, they go aggressive when they do have the hammer, because they know they can generate something.
Got to be happy, the Swedish bench, and team coach and former second player for Edin, Fredrik Lindberg, always taking notes, and he'll be the one out there matching stones for Edin. And usually alternate Henrik Lek gets to just throw stones willy-nilly and be ready to step in, or actually was able to jump in to one of the games earlier this week. Always liking to keep his alternate warm, Edin. You never know if there's anything that can happen, illness, fatigue. It's a long week. It's about 10 days in this competition. And that's also adding a few days for maybe a pre-camp, travel days, so on. A nice little hit and roll to set 2 for Team China. Might have left the double back though for Sweden. As we see Marcel Rock from the infamous Furby 4 played lead for skipper Randy Furby, picked up a few world titles in his day in the early 2000s, dominating the curling world. He's moved to China, worked with the Chinese teams for a number of years and done quite well. Well, won't be too happy with that first end as we see Oskar Eriksson make the double takeout. Sets 2.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to watch Oskar Eriksson. So accurate playing the takeouts. The only left-handed player out there. Sometimes can be an advantage.
Would you say just as often a disadvantage?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's 2 hacks that the players slide from. One on the left-hand side as you face away is for the right-handed players, and the one on the right is for left-handed players. And you cannot switch.
Is that usually because in the old days, and for some still, they lift the stones, so that stone needing to come out on the center line? Some have asked why not just have one hack in the middle, and it's kind of the answer to it. And I don't think any players would quite like that change right now. It would maybe disturb their technique and feel a wee bit. Not sure if I've seen anyone lift the stone this week though.
No, it's a thing of the past, the lift delivery. Generally when you lift the stone, you have to bring it round your body, back in. Sometimes you drive the stone across your body, which means you can drift. Everything's all about straight lines. Bring the stone straight back, straight out, you'll get a nice clean delivery.
If anyone was watching the Olympic Games, you might see Kevin Cooey of Canada. He has a tiny little teapot, barely lifts the stone, but in the past we've seen players lifted quite high. And if you go to the World Championship 8 years ago, the Swedish skip at that point was Per Karlsén, and he would lift a stone about shoulder height for a draw.
Yep.
And his back would hurt as well.
Yeah, I believe that was back in Cortina. Was that the venue for that one?
Indeed.
That's the last time we've seen a different Swedish side at the Worlds. Hedin has been at everyone since, I believe.
Well, Oscar did skip his team in Beijing.
Beijing, yep.
And then right after that, Hedin picked up that, well, more or less that team. Oscar and Hedin joined forces after that 13-14 season.
Yeah, it was a big commitment from Oscar Eriksson to be reigning world champion at skip and then step down and play third for Hedin.
Kändes bra, gått en del taker nu. Bra linje. Gärna köla. Får en topplock här i höjd. Måste gå. Ja. Kör ni. Okej, släpp den här. Okej. Ja, bra. Sluta switcha. Agge på det sista. Det ut att vara en sten kortare. Ja, nej, hon där skulle inte switcha då utan mig där. Det var lite längre. Sen som hon hade mot att vi gå om de räknade på linan.
Well, Dean certainly had a lot of success. Won the World Championship 2013. Didn't get the chance to defend his title the year after. The young Oscar Eriksson team went, picked up a silver, playing to Ulsrud, joined forces with the Dean, and then actually beat that Norwegian Ulsrud team the year after in 2015. And of course, Edin and Oscar picking up silver last year as well. Let's jump on over to Netherlands, Switzerland. It's a 1-point game so far. And this looks like a draw for 2 for Jaap van Dorp, sitting 1 on the back 12. Well, speaking of young teams, this Dutch team has been making their way onto the scene. Just improving every year. They had just a 1 win in Edmonton a year ago at the World Championship. They have 2 wins now, looking for a third. Working this hard, just need a good chunk of the 12 foot. And they've got it. Right onto the 4 foot, indeed. 2 points for Netherlands. They're up 2-1. Well, we might see a replay of the final in Edmonton a year ago. Both Edin and Brad Gushu are here and both looking very good for the playoffs. But of course, we have teams like Bruce Mowat of Scotland, maybe Norway, and Stefan Wallstad is in there. And we have a new playoff format as well. We might touch on that in the next end. We're now down to the last stone. China not really able to generate anything here. And this is what we've seen from Sweden so many times this week. Just denying their opponent the chance to score 2. And so Doja will have to draw. Good full 8 foot to get 1 point to stay in this game. Down by 4 already. Charderde and Zhu Zhangtao on the sweep. Socha out to help. Is this pulling up short? Is it getting there? How far can they drag it? Not far enough. It's a steal of 3. And Team China are just falling apart. It is 7-0 after only 2 ends of play. Wow.
segade på andra.
Ja, men det liksom ingjuter lite grann osäkerhet i Krippa. Det kanske är fel att dra den här topp 4 så blir det en liten...
Prova en omgång till så kan vi skicka in Knojfert sen. Ja. Kör en omgång till, någon av oss.
Andra, jag ska börja ta dig mer i consideration när jag tar mina beslut. Har du nämnt någonting så... Ja.
Welcome back in action in the Orleans Arena here in Las Vegas, Nevada. World Men's Curling Championship. Sweden taking on China. But it is China really taking on water so far. 7-0 is the game. Is this the difference between a slow starter team and a team that comes firing out the hack from the very first stone?
Yeah, Sander, finding yourself 7-0 down. You're probably going to have to park this game already. Just try and get to the sixth end, get some positives back, get something from the game. Get a couple of twos on the board. Maybe a good force here. And then shake hands and move on.
You might be processing this as a loss already if you're Team China, but what we see from like many of the teams from the Asia region is just very disciplined. Not going to lose a lot of face, they'll just keep on working. Don't always see as much frustration as from teams in Europe, for instance. You'll definitely have some teams that will wear their heart on a sleeve. But China, they'll always look very professional. They'll do their very best here to try and salvage something from this game.
What they've got to watch though is it doesn't turn into a cricket score trying to gamble too much. As we said, got to take some positives from this. You've got to maybe close the game out with a 2 or something.
Well, if you do score a 2 on Sweden, at least you can tell yourself, well, that's only the 4th time Sweden's given up a deuce or more in the championship, so even that, just a tiny win.
Just bumps that red to the side of the forefoot.
Let's jump on over to Italy, Korea. Only a 1-0 game there. 2 reds in the house for Kim Chang-min. Did face 3 in the first end. Had to give up a steal. Looking to score 1 here though.
Yeah, that one down onto the back of the 4.
And that is 1 point for Korea. Tied game, 1 each after 2. Looking to guard that Yellowstone top 12.
Nick Saldin just going to play the routine peel on the guard.
And, you know, with a 7-0 lead, this might be a time where you could see Sweden bring on their alternate, their 5th man, Henrik Lek. Sometimes they'll bring him on in half-time. We'll see if they might consider bringing him on earlier. To do one of 2 things, either rest the player and or give their 5th a chance to get a feel for the ice. Never know when that's needed. It's never a good sign though if your opponent's bringing on the 5th man.
Yeah.
Oh, we can actually see that Henrik Lek is not on the bench, so I believe he might be warming up actually. Could see him enter the ice in the very next end.
Jag är inte dundermot just för att vi leder med så mycket att slå om. Ja, om de hade lagt det till tänkte jag säga.
We'll see who comes off for Sweden though. Last time it was Oscar coming off the ice. They moved 2nd player Vrano up to 3rd, put Lek in as 2nd. See if they do the same or if they choose to rest another player. Do you think there'll be more stress on the front end though?
Yeah, more stress in front end, and sometimes you may think Nicholas himself might come off. Does carry that knee injury and also lower back. Seen at the Europeans earlier in the season, he struggled with a knee injury.
Yeah, he's had an operation or 2 in the past. Should count himself lucky he wasn't playing rugby, I think. But I think we're quite lucky to see him pick up curling because he's been quite entertaining. Even from a very young age, pick up the World Junior title in 2004. And since then has won quite a lot.
Everything apart from that Olympic gold medal.
Well, he went 4th in 2010, bronze 2014, silver this year. It only stands to reason that they'll pick up the gold in 4 years if they make it there. That is the plan though for the Swedish side there. I believe they have committed for another cycle. As you see, a great slash double.
Yeah, only 1 stone in play. I believe China will just try and keep things nice and tidy. Don't need to get too aggressive.
I believe had an operation after the last season. Saw him at a charity event this summer. He's playing with a stick, Edin, so just in recovery. But doesn't seem to be phasing him very much so far at the World Championship. All smiles so far. In fact, Edin is the top shooting skip so far. Through 8 games, 89%. That is a good 5% ahead of Brad Gushue in second place.
Yeah, great numbers from Edin. And the difficulty's been pretty high for Edin. He doesn't like to take on the easy shot. He likes the risk over reward. Why take on an easy draw for 2 when a run back doubles there for 4?
At the same time, he's able to pick his spots as well. Remember a young Edin playing with Niels Carlsen at the World Championship in 2006. Same year they played the World Juniors. Not many times you'll see, especially not on the men's side, a junior team represent at least one of the bigger curling nations at the juniors and men's same year. They were what they would do in pre-game practice. They would just go out there, throw bombs, angled raises, 5-second peels just to intimidate their opponents.
Yep.
But of course, over the years, perfecting that touch play as well. The best of 2 worlds. So we're down to the last stone here in the third. Soduja forced, as many other skips playing Sweden so far, to blank this end, but will miss that red stone completely. And the wheels are certainly coming off for China. Confidence not very high. Can't do anything but smile. That is now an 8-0 game for Sweden, with 3 ends played, at least 3 ends to go.
嘉哥，咱就占磕，营里有球咱就占，咱就磕了。
行。
三局这么篮球迷，怎么你今天发挥全都失常了？什么情况？咱就开始。
Welcome back to this 361 World Men's Curling Championship 2018. Sweden taking on China. Hasn't been quite the game we were hoping for. Sweden's been running away with this one, 8-0 through the first 3 ends. A huge blowout as we see 5th player, alternate player for Sweden, Henrik Lek, make his way onto the ice. So that means Kristoffer Sundgren, lead of Sweden, has come off. He'll be able to rest his arms and shoulders from all that sweeping. But they've actually brought second player, Rasmus Vrano, down to lead. So we're not quite sure if Lek will be playing second or third. I'm sure I could find out, but why not make it a surprise, because there's not going to be many more surprises in this game.
Well, there's been a big surprise that Sweden are leading 8-0. Just can't quite believe how slow out the blocks Team China have been.
Sweden even, or China rather, even played the first stone into the house in that first end and gave up 4. You see Chardurdy having a good tournament so far, throwing 87%. Just about in the middle of the pack for leads so far. Pulling his weight. So an unfamiliar position for Rasmus Vrano to play and lead. But he, in juniors, he was skipped Sweden to a silver medal at the 2012 World Juniors. He was very young, he was about 16 or 17 at the time. Just lost to Brendan Botcher in the final. So this definitely has his draw weight down, as you can see. First one, top 4. The second one as well. One corner guard up for Chardurdy. The second to be thrown. And it does look like Henrik Lek will come in at second. So maybe thinking, instead of just letting him draw, they want him to throw a few hits.
Well, Shadowlin just throwing that one over the hog line. It's hardly in play out there.
First task for Lek might be to run the double on the guards here. He's already been on the ice once, played 2 rocks, made both, played 100%. He's been with this team for quite a few years now, his 5th. 1 and 2, look at that, what a first stone for a 5th man. Well, you can have a player like that on the bench. It says everything about the Swedish team.
Yeah, even spins the red up, out of play as well. What a shot.
Well, still 100% then. I'll have to play more than 2 stones in this game. Zhu Zhenghao is actually the lowest ranked second in the field of all 13 players, 77%. Where we see Bobby Lammy of Scotland at the top with 88.
That was a nice freeze attempt. Leaves the stones sitting close together, but catch around 3/4 of this, you could spray everything. I think that's what they've called.
Yeah, just get the yellow going here. Catch your own, it's fine as well. Even better, probably. Perfect, again, by Henrik Lek. Does he even have a bronze medal from the Norwegian men's national championship?
Explain that one to me, Sander.
Actually played with myself. At one point he was living in Norway, working there. He needed a player, picked him up. He was, he played pretty well. Yeah, he's a very good guy, easy to go along with, get on with.
Xu Xianghao trying to freeze that red stone. Just pulls up a little short. Even if you do make a perfect freeze against Oscar Eriksson or Team Sweden, they throw the accurate weight so heavy and they can get the action on the stone, and generally they can squeeze it out.
We can keep the shooter in play here, so maybe they can get the force. Of course, leaving more stones in play do give China more options. And they'll be looking to corner freeze that stone just left by Oscar. Socha in the middle of the pack for second players, playing 83% total. We have Oscar Eriksson in second place with 86. Mark Nichols of Canada topping the stats at second with 89 overall.
Skada inte allt för mycket och ligga kvar, men du kan klippa den också. Vicka långt är kanske okej också. Ja, det är bra. Clearing så, vicka långt.
Off goes the yellow, leaving 3 reds in play. Leaving the stones in play does give China a chance to play a corner freeze.
Yeah, you might say it's unnecessary. Almost like Sweden wants to force a score here so they can have hammer just to change it up. Or if anything, maybe get a few more challenging shots, to be honest. When you're up 8-0 and all you're doing is looking at one stone over and over again, you almost get a bit bored, so you play with a bit more risk when it's unnecessary. Sometimes that burns you.
Yeah, there's only one person burned, and that is Su Dejia of China.
Very close to the freeze attempt here from the third Socha. Just had to pull up half a foot shorter, and I would have put that yellow in a very tough spot for Edin, but he can just throw the controlled hit here, catch it right on the nose as we see him playing 89%, as mentioned earlier, way ahead of any other skip in the field for percentages. 5 out of 8 games so far, he's played over 90%. Just a slight overcurl here.
Does leave a pocket.
Last chance for Su Dejia to set up for 2 as we jump on over to Netherlands playing Switzerland. It's a 2-1 game for the Dutch. Levy sitting 1 at the moment. He's looking to get in there for 2. needing to cross the face of that red stone on the tee line, just waiting for it to curl enough. But it's not going to get there, so it's only one for Switzerland. Tied game at 2 each after 3 ends of play.
And this one looks as if it's running a little heavy and has high line as well.
See if they get enough finish on it. Might have waited a bit too long. They have indeed, but it sits for third.
Should be able to pick that one through the hole. Did you play the card? I don't think so.
There's no easy shot for two as it sits, really. But they'll be playing the hit. Almost feels like this is an opportunity to throw those extra weight shots. The ones you won't normally dare to try, but you might need. Just put in the extra gear. See from Medine. Just play this pretty controlled. We'll peel it through the hole, no problem. Sweden sits 4. And will be the hit this time. China would at least want to get on the board, I'd say, before conceding this game.
Absolutely. No team wants to run out a game having not scored a point.
Well, it's been a shutout so far through 3 ends. Needing to play the hit and roll, but certainly has a bit to roll too. Has that catcher on the other side of the forfeit here, So Deja. Had a couple of bad misses so far in the game. Looks pretty good here though. Just need a tiny roll in for one. And they won't get there. It's a missed line call.
Wow.
That's a good throw, just overswept, and doesn't look like China is very focused at the moment. You can't blame them. Down by 8 and now down by 9. Another steal for Sweden. That is a score after 4 ends here in the Orleans Arena. Down to the fifth end of the 361 World Men's Curling Championship 2018 morning draw. Sweden playing China. Bit of an anti-climax here so far. 9-0 game for Sweden. Actually, just a bad line call on the last stone for China. And that fourth end. That shot was made all day, and they had a lot of tolerance on the over curl. Overswept, nose hit, another steal, and here you see lead player Kristoffer Sundgren sitting in between team coach and former teammate of Edin, Fredrik Lindberg, and also three-time world champion and national coach Peja Lindholm on the right. So he was taken off to see Henrik Lek, the fifth man, make his way onto the ice to get some play time. And if you watched curling before, you might have seen teams concede the game before 10 ends are played, but there's a minimum of 6 ends required. So we're having to go 2 more, although China might have considered giving up right here. But I believe that rule's mostly in play, so teams will indeed give it their best and most fair shot, as it's quite important, especially when you're looking at maybe a last round robin game, where a game might not mean much to one team but could mean a lot for a different team. So I believe all the teams are quite professional and obviously want to win as many games as possible out there. Could mean a lot, even if you're not going to medal, could mean a lot for just your funding and sponsors back home.
For sure. I'm sure that Team China are looking forward to this fifth end break. Sweden will just be quite happy to continue. Everything going their way at the moment.
Another double by Lek. Not able to roll the shooter out this time, but still a pretty good shot. He's been on fire since he came onto the ice. And when you throw up this corner guards, yeah, hoping for a miss, but it's not a lot of hope when you're playing Sweden.
Yeah, they really have been on fire this morning. Can't remember a poor shot at all.
Okay.
Let's take a look at Italy, Korea. Korea with 3 yellows in there. Looks pretty tough for Italy to score, so big weight from Amos Mozaner to believe at least make a double here and cut Korea's score down. Can he even get all 3 going? Just a 2, but does that even go? No, it sticks around. It's a steal of 2 for Korea. Well, they gave up a steal in the first, but after that, it's only Korea to score. Now at 3-1. That's the kind of shot Mozaner likes to play, and he's usually quite accurate with it. Some frustration showing there. Now it's an uphill struggle for China at best. But wouldn't you think they could also bring their alternate on here, Ma Yanlong, as you know, he'd probably be quite keen to throw a few stones, and it's not a game they're going to gain much from now anyway.
That's a very good call, Sander, but I think they'll just try and hold things together and take some positives as a 4 out there. They don't want to mix things up and break up the team dynamic. Sweden sitting 2. China just trying to bump these ones back of the forefoot and use the redstones to help them more than anything. This one looks as if it's going to overcurl. Nothing going the way of China at the moment. Sweeping this one pretty hard. Didn't want to roll into the pocket. Sweden now sitting 3, and again China and Socha trying to play a freeze, create something, at least get some yellows in there. That's a better shot.
Yeah, pretty good there. Leaves a nice pocket. Tougher to remove that yellow. We'll just jump on over to the tied game between Norway and Scotland. It is Skip Steffen Wallstad of Norway being forced to draw the forfeit to score 1 here. Suffered a tough loss to Switzerland last night, had the forfeit for the win, and the extra end came up short of the house. And this is another big sweep from the front end. Really starting to pull up, and it's not going to get there. And that is a steal of 1 for Scotland. 2-1 game. So as you can hear the front end saying that stone just might be shorter. So as Norway figure out their stone problems over there, we return to our featured game, Sweden-China. And a switch of gears for Sweden.
Yeah, they know that that yellow stone's pretty difficult to remove. So just going to throw another one in. Force China to play the difficult shots. That's what they have been doing the simple things well. If you are going to take Nicholas Dean on, you're going to have to bring your A game and force him to play some difficult shots. That's something China have not done in this game.
Yeah, only Norway, actually, the team to have beaten Sweden so far here in Las Vegas.
First mistake, and we're in N5. But you're allowed a couple of mistakes when you're 9 ahead.
I don't think... can't remember Edin throwing a draw since the very first end. But it was indeed this very same path. Drew for 4 in the first end and coming down that in-turn side. Pulls up a bit short. Looks to be playing a a double of sorts, or a hit and roll at least. Sweden is lying 3. Down to skip rocks, so Sodeja will have to start moving some reds in order to bring that Yellowstone top 8 into play. Well hit, just roll on over. It's in half frozen.
Still sitting 2 though.
Just right now, maybe China having a run double for 3. Potentially.
Så länge du kommer in bättre än vad den här slagstenen kan bli. Ligger du här så...
Sodeja could hit that top yellow straight down, catch a piece of the yellow. Top yellow goes off onto the shot stone. He, the shooter, potentially a 3-pointer. So Sweden's just going to draw in once again, try and take that away. I'm not sure if China can see enough of the yellow, but you're kind of clutching at straws either way so far.
Lite utsidigt här, något av de två. Lite hårdare slide och lite mer sättning tror jag.
We'll get the rock lock on this one. 14 and change, so should be close. 13-6 though, maybe a tad heavy. Probably can afford to bounce a little bit here. Sweden lies 3. Is the shot still there for China?
Don't think so, Sander. It's very difficult to even make 2.
Just might need a bit of a Hail Mary here anyway. The gambling capital of the world here in Las Vegas. Might as well have a go. Hoping, thinking, throw this hard enough. Straight down, catch your own yellow. The first yellow redirects onto the 2 reds and the forfeit. Might leave you scoring more than 1, but it's going to have to catch this very precisely, very hard. Obviously, you're going to lose a lot of momentum as soon as you start hitting a few rocks. So last stone, big weight from Sodeja. Looking for their first score in this game. Can't afford to be high. Well, does enough for 1. And that is a first score for China. And they'll get an applause from the crowds in here. 9-1 game after 5, and that is halftime. Teams will come off the ice for a break. And they'll be back in 5 minutes or so. Sweden plays China its first end. It's the penultimate stone, last of skip rocks for So Do-ja, looking to take China out of trouble. Sweden currently lying 3, sweeping this to get past the guard, but have they swept too much? Indeed they have. This one slipping way too deep to the back 12. Will allow Edin to play the draw to score 4. A big team scrub to get there. But it is good enough. 4 points for Sweden. A huge start. And in the second end, Sweden would be lying 3. This time though, China with the last on advantage, drawing for 1. A team sweep from China as well. But it's not enough. This stone pulling up short. It's a huge steal of 3. 7-0 game. And 2 more steals from Sweden. A 9-0 game brings us to the 5th end. So Do-ja looking for their first score. Will run back, come off their own, and will sit in the button to score 1. And it's 9-1 after 5. Moving along to Italy, Korea. Korea gave up a steal of 1 in the first end, but after that it's been all about the Korean team. Amos Mosaner faced with a difficult run back here to try and score. Doesn't get there. Leaves Korea stealing another point. A 3rd consecutive steal. So it's a 4-1 game for Korea over Italy, as we also see the Netherlands up 3-2 on Switzerland. Our game is a 9-1 affair, and it's pretty even between Norway and Scotland, just a 1-point lead for the Scots. And these are the percentages in our game. You can see 94% for Sweden, just shooting the lights out so far. 100% on hits. I can't remember seeing that at a half-time break ever. China okay at 76%, but certainly outplayed so far, and we might just have one more end in this one with 6 ends minimum to be played. Welcome back in action here at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, United States of America. That is Sweden playing China in the 3-6-1 World Men's Curling Championship 2018. Sweden looking pretty strong coming into the game, but also through the first half. It's been a very lopsided affair. Kenny Edwards.
Absolutely, Sweden out the blocks with a 4 in the first end. China trying to strike back, but putting themselves in a hole of trouble and giving up 3 in the second. Continuing that with the steals in the 3rd and 4th, trailing 9-0. They did get on the board in the 5th, but it's a long way back, 8 down. Just haven't been sharp this morning, Team China.
Well, Chardardé has been putting up the guards pretty nicely. But of course, after you're big down early in a game, it's all about just throwing corner guards. Some of the easier shots, if I want to be perfectly honest about it, but that is a very good setup by Chardardé again. Throwing that long center guard then the tight one, perfect distance online as well. He's really pulling his weight for Team China. Sweden coming into the house, trying to take control of the forefoot. It was a nice draw by Rasmus Vrano. He was, I won't use the word demoted, but he was certainly put down to play lead. As a fifth man, Henrik Lek came on. They wanted him to play second.
He's actually made the switch to lead very well.
Yeah, good drawer as well, Vrano, although you're quite used to seeing him peel guards and play run backs. Slightly heavy on that second attempt though, pushing his own stone to the back four. Give something for China to freeze onto. We'll see the numbers for Chinese front end, not too bad, but of course, as soon as you give up 4 in the first end, it's almost only throwing guards for the front end, improving their numbers. And that's one way the percentages might not always paint the right picture. But that's a very good freeze by Zhu Jingtao. Not giving up here.
Not giving up, but you've got to feel they would need to steal more than just a single point in this sixth end.
Wow, there's 5 ends left. Steal 1 and 5 ends. Still not winning the game. So, yes, indeed. As we see, Henrik Lek has played 100% through 2 ends. Came in after the third. He'll peel the top guard.
Xu Yonghao for China. Throwing another centre guard. That's all they can do. Eventually they'll need to probably swing another one round.
So far happy enough to throw the guard. We'll jump on over to Norway, Scotland. Last time we came to visit, it was Norway coming up short on a draw facing 1, gave up a steal. New draw again. They were talking about the Rocks, maybe have given their skip another stone for this throw. 3 Scottish counters in the house. Sweepers looking a tiny bit less panicked this time. Just some light brushing as this stone finds the button for 1. 2 points each. Doing a very good job at throwing the long guard here, China. As we see all the scores in the Orleans Arena this morning. Tied game, Norway-Scotland. It's a tied game between Netherlands and Switzerland as well, 3 each, and Korea is up 4-1 still with a blank end in the 5th. The Scots are not as loud as they were last evening.
Yeah, maybe suffering a bit than the Nevada heat, let's say. Again, China just throwing the centre guard. That's a really nice spot he has found just over the hog line.
Jag kan spela lite mindre fart, så mycket du ser. Det går ju till och med träffa chapp och ta bara clean snärten där, men 2/3 stickar ändå här om man inte har allt för mycket fart. Jag kan prova med något mjukt. Ja, 11 eller? 11 låter bra. Ja, då är garden. Får bara träff så kommer det i alla fall ut öppet där.
Well, I think Sweden was hoping for that guard to just slip a little bit deeper, leave a bit of an angle so they could attempt the run, make the double. You know, Oscar can throw the big heat, but it's placed so nicely. It's not worth the try, so looking to switch gears instead and try this tiny soft run back on their own red. He's trying to promote it onto the shot stone. I don't think it's going to curl enough, is it? Well, certainly shuffles it around, but China lies shot.
Yeah, that yellow stone in the middle of the two reds, sitting shot stone. Very close to making that. China just taking their time over this. They know this is a very important shot. There you see game stats down at 60% for the Chinese skip So Dejia.
Well, he started the game with a pretty nice shot in the first end, but then followed up by missing the 8 foot, leaving their draw for 4. Couldn't quite get the team out of trouble, and pulled up short, facing 3 in the second. Even missed a blank attempt. So he'll be looking to redeem himself with a couple of good shots here before the finish. And this is a pretty good draw into the button. China lies 2. Almost playing better without the last on advantage. Sometimes we do see this when a team struggles to score with the hammer. Might as well get rid of it.
Fart själv, men sen behöver vi täpa löst det så nästan bak 8 i träffen. Behöver få linjen först liksom, annars så är väl frysen okej. Täpa utsida är ju inget bra i alla fall, så vi måste få linjen. Är den bak 8 själv då måste vi eka den.
Sweden will look to just come down to the face of this yellow. Not playing a lot of weight, just back 4 foot I would say. 90% for Edin. Great numbers.
They have given up 4 steals so far, Edin. So they've actually given up more steals than they've given up multiple scores. Without the hammer. Only 3 deuces or more. Actually, only 3 deuces exactly is what they're giving up without the hammer. They have given up 4 steals when they've had last stone. And that's what we talked about, Kenny. They tend to take a bit more risk when they have the last stone advantage, but very cynical without it. And actually, the only game they've lost, which was to Norway, they didn't give up a single deuce in that game either. It was only a couple of steals and all singles on the board throughout the whole game.
Well, I'm sure they are not happy, the bench for Team China. I just want this game to end. Out on draw is still there though for Sodeja. If he could freeze the pocket, he may have the chance of stealing two.
我想把咱那个黄球往这面挤一点，挤一点的话，他就没有，就是把咱俩都走。
力量，6-7，
没有，
站，好不好？
哇，
站，
站，
play hard，哇，hard， hold， wow hold，
How's the line looking on this one?
hard top，
Certainly got enough weight.
hold， hard hold。
They've got the top red. Oh, super shot.
Wow.
Under so much pressure.
Can you score?
我一出手，我一看球手不对劲，出手就得倒站。
Where's the chessmate?
Frågan om det är den här
Checkmate.
tappen då? Ja, jag tror det. Tappa ut den från en fot.
From Sodeja.
Hack. Hack är bra. Tror mer is, ja. Där, ja.
I think I'm just throwing this to give up one.
Yeah, looks to be hack weight indicated by Edin. He's coming down, playing a little tap to get rid of the back yellow, but forced to give up a steal here. Perfect shot by Sodeja. It's a nice way to end it, although if they steal one or two here, we'll see if they want to play on. Last stone of the sixth end. That's the last time Medin's played the last stone of an end since the very first.
Japp, japp, japp. Japp, bra.
That shot is made. Couldn't do much more than that. It is a steal of one for Team China. The score is a 9-2 after 6 ends of play.
De har ju börjat komma igång nu de senaste 2 poängen.
我寻思他要打什么肉，然后转。